Welcome to Find Me in a Book. This podcast is meant to be like you're talking to your best friend about romance books. I share my passion with those who love to read, those who don't have time to read, or those that don't like to read, but still want to know and be involved with book conversations. Thank you for being here. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. I hope that you've had a good week. January is finally over, almost. This week is the last week of January, finally. It really, like everyone says it every time we hit January, that it's the longest month of the year, and it's so true. It is literally, it's so true. It's like the 49th day at this point. So finally it's over, which is so exciting. I am finally doing A Fire in the Flesh. I finished this book probably a month ago, but I just have not, I don't know. I have the physical book, and so I put like little markers or whatever where I wanted to do my notes, but I just have not had the motivation to go through the book again and do my notes and like write them down and everything, because this book did not excite me. It just wasn't exciting. I'm just going to say that. So before we get into that, though, I did go to Barnes & Noble today, and they do have some of their titles, buy one, get one 50% off. I believe some of them were hardback or hardcover, but the ones that I picked up were soft. And they're, on very selected few. I don't know how they picked which ones would be in like the discount or whatever. So I picked up 3 books. One of them wasn't on the deal or whatever. It is Among the Heather by Samantha Young. I did read I think it's the first book. I don't know. Let me look and see. Okay, so this is book 2. So the first one is Beyond the Thistles, and I did read that one. I don't think I did an episode on it, but I did talk about it on my TikTok. So I think I'm going to read this second one and then do an episode on the first and second one so that I can talk about both books, because the first one was really, really good. And I want to say, I think she's coming out with a third one soon-ish. I think I got like an email for it, or maybe it's a different one that I'm thinking about that is coming out. So I did pick up that second book. I'm excited to start reading it. And then I picked up The Fake Mate. It's by Lana Ferguson. She's the author that wrote The Nanny. And I haven't read The Nanny. I've heard good things about it. So I don't know if this is kind of in the same... I don't know if this is in the same world. And I read the back, but I just read the top of the back, if that makes sense. And I didn't know that this is like paranormal. I thought it was just like 2 doctors, or like, I think she's a doctor or something, and he is a doctor. Let me see. But then I just saw the 2 wolf shifters agree to be fake mates, but unexpectedly find something real in the steamy paranormal romantic comedy by Lana Ferguson. I didn't read that. I just read that the main lady, she got out of residency and she needed to find like a mate to settle down with. I guess I should have thought that when I heard mate, but I was like, oh yeah, she just needs to find a boyfriend. So I'm really excited because the back said that an all-around grump, and you know that I love a grumpy sunshine. I mean, I talk about it all the time. Last week's episode was Grumpy Sunshine. I think 2 weeks ago it was Grumpy Sunshine. That is one of my favorite tropes because it's just so satisfying. So, I'm really excited to read that one. And if I like this one, I probably need to pick up her other one, The Nanny, because, I've heard good things about it. And then the last book that I picked up is the third book with Lucy's score, The Things We Left Behind. I finally picked up the third book because it was on sale. It was the buy one, get one 50% off. So I finally picked it up. So I've completed my set now. And I'm really, really excited about that. So those are just the 3 books that I picked up just today. And there were, of course, others that I wanted to pick up. I really wanted to get like the Throne of Glass series and the Crescent City series, especially because the third book in the Crescent series is coming out, I believe, tomorrow, like Tuesday. So I really want to pick up like the physical copies, but I do have them on my Kindle. So I'm like, you know what? I probably just need to read them on my Kindle. And then if I feel like they're worth it, which they probably will be, then I'll eventually pick them up. But yeah, I really had to talk myself out of that because I really want the physical versions. But honestly, I need a bigger bookshelf because I have ran out of room and I've just started stacking books on top. So that is definitely on my list to do or to get is a new bookshelf. But anyways, so let's get into today's book. Like I said earlier, it's A Fire in the Flesh by Jennifer Armentrout. It's the third book in a Flesh and Fire novel, which, I did want to mention Amy Leah. I've mentioned her before. I really, really like her writing. She has like the influencer series. She's come out with 2 books on it. And her third book, The Catch, comes out on February 13th. And I'm really excited because it's the third book in the influencer series. And I really liked the first 2 books. So I just wanted to mention that. That's coming out in a couple weeks, and I'm really excited. And then, yeah, The Crescent City is coming out tomorrow, I believe, which, of course, I won't pick up yet because I haven't started all of that, which hopefully soon. I need to talk to my sister to see when we want to officially start reading, like, all of the books in order. And, just because that's going to take up a couple months for sure. With like episodes and everything. So I want to try and get as many books as I can, like on episodes before we start that. Because I think a lot of people are going to start doing that series. And so, yeah, I think it's a good time to start it too. But anyways, okay. Back to A Flesh and Fire or A Fire in the Flesh. I feel like she just uses the same words for every title all the time. I don't know. You can tell that I'm not excited about this series anymore. Like, especially the Blood and Ash series. So there was, from Blood and Ash, there's A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, The Crown of Gilded Bones, The War of Two Queens, A Soul of Ash and Blood, and then the Compendium that's coming out next month. I think I started to lose interest in The Crown of Gilded Bones, like the third one. I think I was like, okay, like this is still kind of exciting. And then she always leaves on a cliffhanger, which I'm like, oh my gosh. So the War of Two Queens, like that one really like kind of wrapped it up. But then there's going to be another one that's coming out. Let's see. I think she said, oh wait, no. I'm thinking of a different one because there's going to be a 4th book in the Flesh and Fire, and that one's called Born of Ash and Blood, or Born of Blood and Ash on May 7th. So yeah, she's kind of just using the same titles for all of these. And I'm just, yeah. So it was about the 3rd book on that series. And then for this one, the 1st and 2nd book were so good, but this one, y'all, I was really disappointed. Like, I was so excited to start it, and one of my friends that I talked to like all about books, like she had read it before me, and she's like, you just got to read it. You just got to read it. And I was like halfway through, and I was like, I don't really like this. And she's like, you just got to keep reading. You just got to keep reading. And it wasn't until like, yeah, the last third, maybe the last 4th, that it actually got pretty good. And it didn't leave on a cliffhanger though. Like, it was strange. And I'm not gonna lie, I was really disappointed in this whole book. So just know that going in, that I was disappointed. And I really hope that these next books in these series really like do it justice, because I'm getting tired. Like, I don't want to read the next books, honestly, because this one felt useless, like worthless. I don't know. Those are really harsh words, but I just kind of felt like it wasted my time. It didn't really progress the story very much. Like, yeah, we learn a lot more about the world and everything. And she goes deeper into like the history and what everything means. But honestly, like, cut out the middle half and it would be a good book. Like, it really, really dragged on. So anyways, now that you know really my thoughts, let's get into it. So of course, these are going to be all spoilers because, I mean, we're on the third book now, and you probably are like, I don't want to read it. Like, I'll just listen to it. And so here I am. Here I am. I'm just going to tell you all about it. If you do want to reference the first and second book, those, let me look at the episodes really quick so that you can go. Because if you've forgotten, like I did, I honestly had to listen to my episodes because I forgot what the books were about. So before I read this book, I listened to the other ones. So it is episode 53 and episode 54. That's when I went over the first and second book. So then, yeah, you can read that and then, or listen to that and then listen to this one, and it will all make sense. Because, yeah, I had forgotten a lot of stuff. So I'm glad that I listened to that. Okay, so she gets captured by Kolis, remember? Kolis is the primal of death. He was the primal of death, but then he stole the embers from Nyktos, who was the primal of life, and that's Nyktos' dad. So he traded him out, basically, and Nyktos has the embers of death, and Kolis has the embers of life, but also there's embers of life in Sera. So she gets captured by Kolis. Nyktos shows up because at the end of the second book, that's when they say that he showed up in his wolf form. And so we're like, oh, he's come to get her. Okay, so he shows up. She's been kind of in and out of consciousness because she's been like really injured. And Kolis is under the impression that, because they did say at the end of the second book that Sera is Sotoria reincarnated. And Sotoria is basically the love of Kolis' life. He's obsessed with her. She's died like twice. And then they Ethos killed her. Well, oh, sorry. That's a spoiler, and we'll find out later that he's the one that killed her the second time. Because I think she killed herself the first time because she was so scared, and then Kolis brought her back, and then Ethos killed her the second time just to get her away from Kolis. Wait, did I say Ethos? Yeah, Ethos killed her. And so then she's basically being reincarnated now, and she was... It was a different reincarnation this time because her soul is in Sera, and Sera also has her own soul. So she basically has double souls right now. So Kolis can't believe that it is Sotoria, but Sotoria kind of takes over a little bit and talks through Sera and kind of talks a little bit to Sera as well, so that she's there. So Nyktos gets really angry. He tries to fight Kolis. There's this big showdown. And of course, Sera is dying, and she of course wants them to stop fighting. So what does she do? She holds a knife to her throat. And I hate that. I hate when the main female character is oh, you guys won't stop fighting? I will kill myself then. Or I will attempt to kill it. And then the men are no, don't. I hate that. I think that is such... Oh, it just makes me mad. I'm really? Really? Anyways, I didn't like that. So she's I'm going to kill myself. But she doesn't. So Nyktos stops fighting. He's no, don't do that. And that's when Kolis is oh, he's distracted. I'm going to stab him. So he injures Nyktos. And in the process, Sera gets even more injured, or she passes out or something like that. She's in and out. Callum, he's the Revenant, remember? He's the golden Revenant. He helped Sera's mom tell her how to kill a primal when they were getting her ready to be Nyktos or Kolis' bride or whatever when she was younger. And he's been there forever. And also we know that he survives because Poppy and Cass meet him as well, years and years later. I don't know how many years later, thousands, hundreds, I don't know. So he's there and he's hey, take the embers. She's dying, take the embers. And Attis, who is, I think he's the primal of war. Oh, I didn't write down what he's the primal of. But we think that he's a bad guy, but he really actually turns out to be a good guy. I'll just let you know that. And Attis is like, no, like you can't take the embers because then Sotoria will be lost and trapped in nothing, basically. And Callum's like, no, like you have to take it. And they kind of get into a fight. So Nyktos is weakened and then captured and put into a stasis because he was really injured. And Sera is put into this cage, which honestly reminded me of the book Gilded by Raven Kennedy. Is that who? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Raven Kennedy. Maybe it's completely wrong. Anyways, Gilded. So she is put into like a cage, basically. And that's what reminded me when they said that Sera's put in this cage with like a bed and a bathroom, basically like a bird. Kolis, he's trying to take care of Sera because he's like, I got Sotoria back. Like she is my Gracia, Greca, whatever that word is. It means life in primal language. He's like obsessed with her still. And so she's like really angry. He doesn't want her to use any of the embers of life because the more that she uses it, the more it kind of absorbs into her and she becomes that. And he doesn't want that because he wants to ascend her and have her become basically vampire, or not a revenant, but yeah, like vampire ascended. So then he can take like the embers, but he doesn't know that once he takes the embers, like she'll die and Sotoria will die too. They have that going. But while Sera is captured, she's like basically captured like throughout this whole book. And that's one thing that was like really frustrating, where I'm like, can something else happen, please? Like, can she just, like, she does try and escape at the beginning, and she, like, comes upon, like, the Chosen, which those are the third siblings, I think, third child, and she comes across Chosen, she comes across the Craven. There's no other revenants except for Callum, and we find out that Kolis can't figure out how to do it again. He doesn't know how to make more revenants. And so yeah, she tries to escape. She meets a new vampire as well. She also meets some Draken that are there. And one thing about this book, we don't actually know like who is good, who is not good, who is just doing things so Kolis doesn't kill them. That's kind of who Attis is. We don't think that he's a good guy until he's like, no, I'm a good guy and I just don't want Kolis to kill me, basically. So we're like, oh, that's fair because he's like the king of the gods, king of the primals, everyone. And kind of going back to Kolis doesn't want her to use any of the embers. He also doesn't know that Ash or like Nyktos, that's the same person, Ash and Nyktos, can ascend her or can't ascend her basically because she has his blood. And so, yeah, it will kill her. Attis and Callum don't really think that she is Sotoria because we do find out that Callum is her brother. And he's like, you don't look like her, you don't sound like her. And she's like, no, she is in me. Like, but she has to convince them that like she is Sotoria, basically, that she's like with her. So that's throughout, she's basically like fighting with Callum like throughout this whole book. And you kind of like, you start to feel bad for Callum because just the circumstances that he has had in his life and how he got to where he is, because basically he wasn't there for Sotoria when she like killed herself, like because she I think like fell off a cliff and he was supposed to be there with her, and so he blamed himself. So he went to Kolis and was like kill me, like take me with you, like help me, basically. And that's when Kolis was like, okay, I'm gonna try this new thing. And so Callum has just like had a really rough life, it sounds like. And one thing, so we talk about how she wasn't like reborn or reincarnated like she usually is. Like something happened when Ethos was doing all his stuff, like trying to have her soul be reincarnated. Just that whole thing that he tried to do with her, something went wrong. That she didn't get reincarnated this time. I don't know why, we don't really know. But we do also find out, which was very interesting, because we find out what Sotoria means. And this was like a big moment that I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I'm invested. And then I got bored again. But we find out that Toria, like Toria in Sotoria means garden, or more specifically, pretty flower. And the exact translation is poppy. So Sotoria means my pretty poppy. So I think that Poppy is Sotoria, like reincarnated or whatever, like, or reborn, because we find out what happens to Sotoria, like later on, like where she kind of, like the events or whatever. And so something has happened from that moment, which we'll talk about, to where Poppy is, because it's like, where is Sotoria actually? Like, did she get reborn? So yeah, I thought that was like a really big thing that I'm like, oh, okay. She also, Sera, she convinces Kolis that she's never loved. She convinces him that she loves Nyktos, but is not in love with him. That she's never loved. She's never been loved, and so she's trying to make Kolis feel like he has a chance with her again. And she's like basically playing him. And so she makes a deal that she'll stay with him if he lets Nyktos go, which he's like, okay, I'll make that deal, but it doesn't happen for, I don't know what the timeline is that she's been there, maybe like a month. But yeah, it doesn't happen that he gets released. And another thing, I think I'm going to say that a million times, like, oh, we learned this and we learned this, because it really was, there's just so much information in these books that it's like, it doesn't progress the story at all. It's just background information to dive even deeper into the world, which is great. But at one point I'm like, I just need some action. Like, I need this story to progress because I'm getting really bored. But what I was going to say is that the primals, I guess, have two sides. So when there's a primal, it says that they're the primal of this and this. And they're usually like opposites. Let's see. I wish I would have wrote one down. But basically, they start out good. And that's like the first part of their name. They start out good, but once they start to kind of show that second part, more of like an evil side or more darker side, that's when they go into stasis to reverse it. And a lot of the primals have gone into stasis multiple times just to kind of revert them back to being a normal primal and having like normal reactions, emotions, everything like that, which I thought that was pretty interesting. At one point, like Nyktos is still in his stasis, and he's still pretty injured and everything. And Sera actually has this dream, and Nyktos is in it, and it feels so real. And so we find out that they are dream walking, which Cass and Poppy did that. And so we find, like, I keep saying that, so we find out Sera and Nyktos are mates of the heart, and we know that that's why Cass and Poppy could dream walk. And so they're kind of, once they realize that they are dream walking, they start to kind of, they, of course, like, it's so spicy. I didn't say this at the very beginning, but this book is pretty spicy. It doesn't get spicy until like halfway through when they do start dream walking, because they're like basically doing the toast while they are in this dream. And so they're kind of, once they realize that they are dream walking, which it takes them a long time to figure that out, they are starting to kind of talk about where they are and what they're doing. They try and like create a plan, but it doesn't really work out. And when Ethos, when he was the primal of life, he did the ascensions of the chosen. That's when the chosen actually went into godhood. And without the embers of life, when they were taken from him, that's when the chosen started to become ascended, which is the vampiri. But of course, nobody tells like the mortals. And so when we come to like Poppy's generation, they think that the chosen are still going to be godhood, but they don't know that they're actually being like sacrificed, and also they're being turned into vampiri. So I thought that was very interesting. She also convinces Kolis, because we learn about, I think it's in the second book, we learn about the star. And this is a diamond that the array, which are the fates, that they used to hold a soul. And so she knows that, Sera knows that Kolis has this star diamond. And so she convinces him to show her it. And it was actually in her cage this whole time. It was like in above her, whatever. It was really small. And so she holds it for the first time. And she's kind of transported to this like vision where Ethos and Kolis are fighting. It's like that final battle. That's where we learn that Ethos was the one that killed Sotoria. And she sees like what happens between them. And so once she kind of comes out of it, she realizes that Ethos's soul is in that diamond. And she knows like, hey, we need to put Sotoria's soul in there. So when she dies, because Sera's very convinced that like it's inevitable that she's going to die because she can't ascend and the embers aren't going to accept her. And so she's like, okay, we need to put Sotoria in this diamond so that she doesn't get lost. Like that's really important. And so Kolis tries to punish her later on because she like kind of quotes something that was in that vision. And so he gets really mad. And later on, literally, it's like way later on, there's just not very much that happens in between. But Kolis tries to punish her for using the embers because he can feel when she uses them. And so he tries to punish her and she gets so angry. Like she can't handle it anymore. She goes full primal and is somehow able to connect with Nyktos and basically break his bond like chains, and he awakens and he just goes on a war path. And she is actually able to stab Kolis, and so he is basically incapacitated. I think she stabs him with one of like the god bones or something, like the bones of a god or a primal or something that basically like makes them go unconscious if it's in them. Kind of like, have you seen like Vampire Diaries and the originals? When the originals get like stabbed with the white oak, they basically go into this stasis until it's like removed from them. That's basically what happens with Kolis. So he goes unconscious. Nyktos is on like a war path and just destruction everywhere. He comes to her and he's like, you released me, blah, blah, blah. They hide Kolis's body with the help of one of her guards. He's actually like secretly a good guy. And then Attis is there as well. So they hide Kolis's body. It'll take everyone a little bit to find him. And they take her back to the Shadowlands, which is where Nyktos lives, of course. They bring in, what's her name? Kaylee, something like that. She is, what is she the primal of? I should have wrote this down, but basically she was the one that helped Ethos with Sotoria in the first place. And so they're going to help her, or she's going to help them put Sotoria's soul back into the diamond, or put it into the diamond. But she's like, only the primal of life can do that. So basically it's up to Sera to do that because she has the embers. So she does. She takes Sotoria's soul and puts it into the diamond. They release Ethos's because she tells Nyktos about it. He's able to basically connect with his dad, and it's a nice moment. They release his soul to go into the afterlife and put Sotoria's in there. And they also realize that they need to entome Kolis to basically set everything right. Like they can't kill him because it will like cause destruction, or I don't really know what it would cause, but they want to entomb him. And they know that Sera is probably going to die because Nyktos needs to take those embers back. So they have this like really sad moment. He takes her to her lake where she really loves. They have a really special moment. It's really sad. And he's like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to send you. Like, I want you to live. I can't be without you. F everyone else. Like, as long as you're alive, that's all that matters. And he says, like, I love you for the first time. And he just wants her to live. So he ascends her and it works. And the embers actually accept her. And she is the full primal of life. Like, she just is so badass, like just completely like reinvents everything. And she actually doesn't remember him a little bit. And so he like helps her remember, and she's just a badass. And one thing that was really cool at the very end, basically, is that she has a dream about a large cave cat. And then she looks around the cave cat. This is in her dream or whatever. And there's two smaller ones. And I thought that was so special because she was like, I was looking at that large cave cat and I realized it was me. And so it's her and her two sons. So like, remember, the two sons are like Poppy's dad was one of the cave cats. And then the other son was a cave cat as well. Like, I thought that was so cute and such a like nice addition. I thought that was a really, really great moment. Okay, and so I wrote this down, but I don't know. So they explain a little bit more about heartmates, and it's basically the array. They look on these like threads of fate, basically, and they see all the possibilities for one life, and they can sometimes see like what comes of a love between two or more souls. And in that union, they see like possibilities that can like basically reshape the realms by either creating something like never seen before or like ushering in that change. So when they see that in a thread, they're basically forbidden to intervene in the affairs of those souls. Like, they believe that the bond between them can't be circumvented. So not even like the death of the body or the heart and soul, which the cardia, remember Ash or Nyktos had his cardia removed. Nothing can come between that. Like, it breaks the connection or it can't break the connection. So basically, love conquers all. That's what we learned from this book. And like, it doesn't matter that he had the cardia removed. Like, they're heartmates. Like, they're meant to be together. So yeah, that's it's basically the end. So we learn that she is now the full primal of life. Kolis is back awake. They found him. And her and Nyktos are heartmates, so they got to figure out how to entomb Kolis. And she stopped the rot. Because she is the primal of life, she was able to stop the rot. And that was her main goal, literally from the very beginning of the very first book. Like, that's why she was supposed to marry the primal of life or death or whoever, to stop the rot. And so she accomplishes it. Like, the end of the third book, she accomplishes it. So at least she can save the mortals, you know? And so they just have like a cute moment. There's a lot of spice at the very end, a lot of toast of them like being together. It happened with Poppy and Cass too, when she gets ascended or whatever she does, that they just have lots and lots of toast. And that's the same with this one too. I don't know what it is about these near-death things that they just are like, we gotta just make some toast. They just like crave each other. And I'm like, I don't think I'd want to do that if I had just survived. I think I would just want to sleep. I think I would just want to do nothing, you know? But whatever, you know, it's whatever. You can do what you want. But anyways, that's literally the end of the book. Like, no cliffhanger, nothing. No, like, surprises, no, like, hints of what's happening in the next book. I mean, kind of hints, because we know that Kolis does get entombed, because we learn that in the Poppy and Cass books, because that queen does bring him back to life. So we know that he does do that, or gets entombed. So I guess the next book is just figuring out how they do that. And yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in the next book. And I probably will pick it up just because it will be the end of it. I'm hoping the end book, because if there's going to be 2 more books, I can't do it. I mean, I will do it, but I won't be excited about it. But if this next book really will be the last book, I'm all for it. I can do it. If I know that. Like, I just want this whole series and the Blood and Ash series to just wrap up. Like, I just want the end. Like, I've been drug along so far that I'm like, can you just end it, please? Can you start on another series? Like, I don't know. Like, are you the same? Like, are you feeling these same things? Because I just can't. So, anyways, those are my thoughts and feelings on A Fire in the Flesh. Sorry it took me forever to do this book and this episode, but now you know why I didn't do it, because I just wasn't excited about it. Yeah, you get it. So, anyways, finally done with that. I am now going to finish the second book in the Lightlark series, The Nightbane. I'm halfway through that book. I'm hopefully going to finish it tomorrow, and then I'll do an episode on that. And then I have a couple other books that I am lining up for episodes. And yeah, I'm just excited for that. I also got a job. So I want to line up as many episodes as I can, because I know the first couple weeks will be stressful, just like learning all about it, especially because it's going to be in the medical field that I don't know. I've never worked in the medical field before. So I am kind of nervous about it, but excited. So yeah, I just want to make sure all the bases are covered for the podcast and making sure we get some episodes out for you. So anyways, yeah, lots of feelings. Lots of feelings in this episode. Hopefully everything made sense. Definitely go in and listen to those first and second episodes to kind of wrap up the story. So anyways, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, social medias, all about that. And grateful for you guys, and I'll talk to you next week.